Hey Tally, what are you doing in Icecrown? The pre-patch won't be starting for a week or two yet.
Hi Evie, no, I'm just here killing Arthas on my invincible run.
Oh wow, is that something you do?
Only every week on 12 characters, nothing hardcore.
Oh, any luck?
No, of course not! Everyone knows it doesn't even really exist! I don't know why I...
Tally!
What? No! Oh, I can't believe it. This is the best day of my entire life. Oh God, maybe now I can stop playing WoW. Evie, maybe now I can be free.
Tally, what's that weird flapping sound? See you next week?
Yeah, I'll do it on 13 characters from now on, I think.
Knowledge is power.
Hello, Internet. Taliesin here, and welcome back, at last, to the weekly reset. Taliesin and Evertel's wondrous wisdom show. Oh, what? This old thing? Nah, we only put this on when we don't care what our new custom-built studio looks like. It's no big deal. It's actually a really, really big deal, and it took ages. Please love it. In a week where, I guess, basically, we have like 3 weeks worth of news to catch up on, really, don't we? Like, the global cooldown changes, and our new, literally, angel-faced crying boy who's weirdly even more attractive when he cries. And genuinely, that was going to be a part of this show, was to do a quick roundup of all of the things that we missed while we were away. But you know what? There is so much to talk about just this week that we're not going to have time. So yeah, I feel the same about global cooldown changes as everyone else. I think they're brilliant, but why haven't they applied to this one specific spell that I want them to apply to? Come on, Blizz, you're trash. Because Shadowlands is imminent. The pre-patch is even more imminent. Final decisions are being made. Secrets are being discovered. Cinematics are being released. Mounts are being voted for. It's starting to get really exciting, seeing all those little beautiful details find their way onto the beta and PTR builds, and I can't be alone in this, it's starting to get just a teeny bit worrying, those little things that aren't. Because seriously fam, and look, I don't mean to panic you or anything, so stay calm and stuff, okay? But there's like a few weeks to go before all this shit needs to be in place. Like probably 2 weeks maximum before some of it goes live in the pre-patch. And seriously, Blizz, what are you even playing at? What's your plan here exactly, Blizz? Are you just gonna try and sort those massively underwhelming heirloom set bonuses on your bus ride into work the day this shit is supposed to go live? Because you are not 14-year-old me, Blizz. And anyway, that was only my shitty exams and life chances. This is a very important expansion, and you know, I don't want to call it make or break, so I'm just going to stick with very important expansion, like Vi. But something that is in place, finally this week, we were able to data mine our new shiny official Shadowlands login screen and intro music. And here it is, or at least as much as you'll ever hear of it over the next 2 years. And fair dues, that is awesome. I'm a big fan. The screen is pretty much what we were all expecting, in a good way, and the music has a satisfying wrath feel to the very beginning bit, before kind of turning the main WoW theme in on itself and sort of upside down for some reason. And I also love how you can totally pick out all of the individual Covenant music from the medley too. And speaking of Covenants, no, let's have some more happy times before we go there. What else is missing or not missing from Shadowlands, Evertel?
Hi! What, this old thing? No, we only put this up when we don't care. Oh, Tally already did that joke? Fine. Okay, let's start with some more stuff that has made it in time. This week's beta has seen NPCs in cities and other hubs start to use some of those new player character customizations that Shadowlands is going to open up to us in pre-patch. That means if you head to Orgrimmar, you will be greeted with some very dangerous looking law enforcement, while a trip to Stormwind means there's a strong chance you'll bump into a guard, citizen, or vendor sporting one of the awesome new haircuts, face shapes, beards, eye colors, or skin colors. It's surprising what a difference having so many different looking models actually makes in a city. And honestly, face shapes are the biggest change in terms of models feeling different in my opinion. It's really cool. Blizz had originally implied that named characters wouldn't be changed, but I guess Laramane, Suzanne, and Allison Potts don't count as names because, you know, they got changed. Sorry to any massive Laramane fans out there who also happen to be a bit racist. But it does bring up an interesting question, in my opinion, regarding tribute NPCs. Allison Potts, famously, is the wife of a WoW dev who was put into the game as a birthday present. And look, basically either her original model really didn't look like her or her new one doesn't. I'm pretty sure Allison doesn't care either way, so we probably shouldn't either. What we should care about is poor old Calic. Poor Calic hasn't had a model update since 1897. It's no wonder Jaina dumped him. Give this boy a lovely new real face and beard. Please, Blizz. Otherwise, though, yay! New NPCs are pretty much ready to go for Shadowlands. Unlike PvP itemization, which Ian admitted in this week's Mammoth Blue post wasn't being adequately achieved by the new PvP gear, obtained via the new PvP vendors. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking maybe Ian just doesn't know about the new PvP gear on the new PvP vendors because he just can't find them, and that would be fair because they are very difficult to find right there in the middle of Oribos, but I think most serious PvP players would agree with the gist of what he's saying regardless. He offers no fixed solutions, which is also absolutely fine because the expansion doesn't go live for like months yet. Oh no, wait. But he says they are looking at different options. Of course, most people want a PvP specific stat on PvP gear, like resilience back in the day, although preferably like, you know, much better and more interesting than resilience. And maybe Blizz will do that? Personally, I'm betting that PvP gear will end up with some unique procs that can only go off when you're fighting another player. I have literally no evidence for this, it just seems like a very Blizzard 2020 thing to do. But it's fine, they've got ages to decide, like 40 days or something. We have yet to see what gear those Castle Nathria weapon tokens give you, although hopefully for Ardenweald players, it's these amazing Covenant-specific models, which are marked as Night Fae Raid in the data, and would suggest that Necrolords and Kyrian could look forward to some equally bony, spiky, or Boy Scouty options of their own. But maybe those Night Fae Raid weapons aren't anything to do with Castle Nathria, and instead are rewards from an actual Night Fae raid in 9.1 or later? Would that mean a raid in every zone is on the cards? We don't know. And I would like to know. Something that is ready and implemented is the new Threads of Fate alt leveling option. Once you've hit max level on one character, your alts will have the option to play through the story normally and in order again, or they can go ahead and pick a Covenant straight off the bat and begin. Get your Covenant abilities instantly, skip a whole bunch of narrative unlocks, and start leveling through world quests, zone questing, and special objectives, progressing with your Covenant and unlocking the Maw as you do so. To have this choice between the two approaches is really great and would seem to fulfill the promise made when Shadowlands was announced back at BlizzCon of giving alts way more freedom in how they level and be able to progress their endgame as they do. So, yay for alt leveling! All of these topics are discussed at length over on Wowhead, including some data mining, which we aren't even going to talk about at all today at least, which reveals the jailer's true name. And as always, all the links are below. But yeah, I did mention Covenants quite a bit there. I don't think we can ignore it any longer, Tally.
Okay, fine. Just bear in mind that I could be talking about the Grand Free Mount vote right about now. Vote for the tree, obviously, or at a pinch the caterpillar. But instead, we have to go over this for what should really be the last time, but which clearly won't really be the last time. So also in that big blue post from Ian this week was some really cool news about how sockets will work in Shadowlands. They will still appear randomly on gear, although now only helms, rings, necks, braces and belts, but there will also be a consumable sold by Venari in the Maw, which, just like Rathian's gouged eyes in 8.3, will add a socket to a piece of those gear types, which is cool because it means that having gear proc a socket will still be awesome, but only because it will save you the grind of adding it yourself, and bad because basically at a certain level fully socketed gear is now essentially mandatory, and I can foresee a future in about 5 minutes when this game launches where Limit and Thundercat team members are grinding the Maw 24 hours a day to save enough currency to have bags full to the brim of this socket consumable ready to apply sockets to any and every piece of gear that drops. drops for them in the race to world first. And I don't think they'll enjoy that very much. But for everyone else, it's overall neat and good news. Ian also explained how the twisting corridors will work as Torghast's challenge mode, which is only 18 floors rather than the unlimited mode some of us were expecting, but which give you some really cool rewards. So, okay, I'm placated for now, Blizz, but I'm going to have to see how this works at a time when I'm not preoccupied with the main story of the week, Covenants and the Ripcord, because the central nugget of rather controversial yet strangely predictable info in this whole announcement was Ian Hazzikostas' explanation as to why, at launch, Blizzard will be keeping the Covenant system pretty much as is, with exclusive Covenant abilities and soulbinds connected to your choice, along with the story and transmog options, and not, as many players had been campaigning for, separating off those player power options and letting players swap between and use them all in the form of something like a talent system, or just enabling free and easy swapping between the Covenants at will. Basically, the Ripcord will not be pulled. And I know this show has a pretty broad audience, so I'm very aware that many of you will know exactly what I'm talking about right now, and some of you absolutely won't. So allow me to explain the phrase I just used. From back in the earliest interviews that Ian has given about Shadowlands, the potential problems with the Covenant system and the player power implications have been obvious. Players feeling a need to pick a Covenant that they don't connect with emotionally or aesthetically because the Covenant ability is the strongest one. Then balancing the abilities and soulbound talent trees being difficult because it could force players to swap Covenants at various points during the expansion as their Covenant-only abilities get nerfed or buffed and their optimum Covenant choice changes to another. And probably most importantly of all, that players could feel pigeonholed into just one type of gameplay style because of their Covenant choice and feel that they could never be properly equipped for others. Being a member of a Covenant that gives you a strong single target ability, for example, making you resent that you can't use that other Covenant's better AoE ability when you're running Mythic+. And Ian has always acknowledged these potential problems, saying balancing them is what the alpha and beta cycle is for, and maintained that if worst were to come to worst and it's really not working, there was a Ripcord option that would see Blizz just enabling players to use all the abilities regardless of their Covenant choice. And lo, the Pull the Ripcord hashtag was born, as players who didn't like what they saw on Alpha and Beta began to campaign for that supposed backup failsafe in case of emergency break glass. No, the other one. No, the other one, to be deployed before the expansion goes live. And it has been probably the single overwhelming talking point in the community, with the biggest and most well-loved content creators in the sphere getting involved and giving their opinions. And now me. But Ian's latest blue post appears to have definitively killed the Ripcord dream. We're about to have a long quote, hope that's okay. Okay, so when it comes to customizing your, I'm not going to do the voice, your loadout, the set of tools you're going to take into a given encounter, WoW offers more options than ever before, and you can almost entirely reshape your character on the fly to suit the moment. But as malleable as those choices are, none of them, other than perhaps your specialization, defines your character. They aren't who you are, but rather what you happen to be doing at any given moment. Rather than add yet another layer to that decision matrix, we're going to do something different here and let players more meaningfully define their character's identity and set themselves apart from others who play the same class. And that identity entails a blend of aesthetic preference, narrative experience, and mechanical strengths and weaknesses. From the earliest sketch designs of the Covenant system, our goal was for the answer to what do you play in Shadowlands to be Kyrian Paladin or Venthyr Paladin rather than just Paladin. Achieving that goal for most players requires that there be player power implications to Covenant choice, which, you know, as far as hopes and dreams crushing statements go, is thoughtful and nicely put. It eloquates something that I personally feel about Covenants myself and what makes them interesting, and I can safely say that in concept, at least, I totally agree with Ian's reasoning here. And that was a sentiment that was echoed on the forums, where players on both sides of the debate, whether they were happy or sad with the outcome, could accept that the devs had made their decision and justified that decision with some really well-reasoned and argued, no, it was a shit show, obviously. No ripcord equals you splat down and die. Rip the game. It's amazing their ability to do shit. I swear Blizzard wants to kill their own game. Are they fished in the head? More like pull the RIP cord. That's actually quite good. Welp, there goes Shadowlands, Lamau. So there's a couple of things I want to say about this before we move on and get on with our lives, and the first might upset you. I'm glad that the ripcord isn't being pulled. And please, bear with me on this one, okay? Because I'm not saying that you are wrong if you disagree. In fact, I'm not actually saying you're wrong at all. So don't say that. You and people like you really cannot understand the problem, don't you? Partly because, well, that's just grammatically horrible, but also because we have a long line of videos on this channel and VODs on our stream as proof that we have been discussing the problems with Covenants since BlizzCon. And when it comes to what those problems are, I am fully in agreement with every ripcord advocate. I agree with you on the problems, and I fully expect some or all of them to happen when Shadowlands goes live with this system. At the same time though, I can't pretend that the idea of Covenant abilities and no free and easy swapping on the fly isn't fun to me, because it is, and I find it hard to eloquate. Like I say, Ian did it better, but I guess it's something to do with identity, and that as, say, a priest, having an ability that I can use that other priests can't because they're in a different covenant is just a cool and fun thing to me. And here's the thing, I know that even a lot of ripcorders agree with that too, because I think we're making a mistake here by saying that there are just the two sides to this. There's actually a bit more nuance than that. Yes, on one extreme, you've got people who are just 100% behind the idea and don't even care if it doesn't really work. They just think it's really cool and they want it to go live no matter what. And it's fair to say that these people may be what you would tend to describe as more casual players, but I don't mean that as a criticism. On the other extreme, you've got players who are fundamentally, philosophically opposed to the idea of limiting access to abilities and soulbinds in any way. For these players, it wouldn't matter if the system was perfectly balanced and it worked like an absolute dream. They just cannot find not having access to every possible ability as fun. This group tends to be made up more of professional level players, world first raiders. I would say my beautiful cuddle bunny Preach is in this group, and whereas I agree with most of the problems that they highlight, I feel differently to them on their main point that the idea itself is just never going to be fun no matter what. And then you have this middle section, which is where I think most of us fall, who think that the idea of covenants and covenant abilities is neat and cool, who can see and fear the very obvious problems. And for this group, which side of the ripcord line you fall on is basically going to depend on how possible you think it is that Blizzard will actually be able to balance covenant abilities and soulbinds to a satisfying degree. Those who perhaps fairly lack faith in Blizzard's tuning history will probably come down against the idea and advocate for meaningless covenant swapping or talents. Those who have a bit more faith or who have a broader view of what balanced actually means might be on the other. And honestly, I'm with the ripcorders in terms of my faith in Blizzard to actually tune this stuff. I think that many or all of the problems that we've all been identifying for a year will happen, but I don't think they're going to go and pull the ripcord in 9.2 or 9.3, and I think that changing your covenant because tuning changed or you just think you chose wrong is going to be incredibly easy, although we do still need to see how renown catch-up is going to work in your new covenant. That's still missing right now. But I think that come the end of Shadowlands, there will be thousands of players who are essentially maxed out in all 4 covenants on the same character. That should be pretty straightforward. I certainly don't think they're going to start selling covenant swaps on the cash shop, and I don't think anyone else truly believes that either, and I think it's unfair to suggest that. So there was no ripcord, you lied, I'm shocked /s. Because in this post, Ian says that they would be happy to do any amount of work needed to remove covenant restrictions if they thought it would be better. They've just come to the conclusion that it wouldn't be, and they might be wrong. I suspect they will be. I've said on Twitter that I think for the sake of appeasing players it would probably be better to pull the damn cord, but at the end of it all, I can't sit here and pretend that I don't find the idea of picking a covenant and having access to abilities and soulbinds that other players of my class in other covenants don't isn't fun to me, because it is. And that's why, overall, right now, I'm glad that the Ripcord isn't being pulled, because I want a chance to play the game as the devs intended and obviously care a lot about. What that means is though that yeah, it's pretty important that Blizz actually use this time before launch to actually tune this shit like they say they're going to, and that means not having Necrolords as the only reasonable or fun Covenant choice for rogues, although that doesn't mean nerfing bone spikes. That means making the other Covenant abilities as fun and powerful. That means not having Venthyr as the only realistic Demon Hunter choice. It means not having Night Fae as the don't pick this whatever you do option for hunters. It means not having Night Fae as the obvious Bist Death Knight ability. This process has to happen. It has to happen in the next just over a month, and every single player who has posted pull the Ripcord on the forums now needs to go back to the forums and put up another post in Blizzard's designated thread that has been up for ages now, telling them exactly what is unbalanced about the Covenant choices for your class as you see them. And honestly, if there's one reason that I'm even more glad to finally get some closure on this, it's because now, maybe, we can talk about the real problem in Shadowlands player power. Because when people say Covenants are Azerite armor all over again, I don't agree with that at all, actually. The problems are very different, as are the benefits. But there is a system in Shadowlands which could end up being a lot like Azerite armor, and that's conduits. And I know, if you watch this channel or our Twitch streams on the regular, then you know I've been banging this drum since the beginning. But it's true, because conduits are cool. I like how fun slotting conduits into your soulbinds are, and their essence style collection and library building will be something that I'm really looking forward to at the beginning of the expansion. But even so, it is conduits that risk repeating the mistakes of Azerite armor. Firstly, because that really stupid and horrible once per reset swapping rule, which divides the player base much less than Covenants. I don't think anyone likes that system, but also because of those damn item levels. Yeah, collecting all my conduits for my awesome conduit library, where you don't even have to be quiet or anything because it's my library and I make the rules, is super fun in 9.0. Doing it again in 9.1, 9.2 and 9.3, farming the same conduits all over again at higher item levels, even if it's through new raids or whatever, I don't know fam, that smells a lot like what was stinky about Azerite armor, because farming new gear every tier is fun, farming the same gear again every tier is not fun. I'm not going to get into any fixes or anything right now because that's not what this video is about, but if Ian's post finally makes people spend less energy on Ripcords and more on this problem, then that in itself would be great. That's another thing not yet added to the game, by the way, upgrading conduits and legendaries. It would be really nice to see that in action. Whoo, we did it, Evertel!
Yeah!
The new weekly reset! And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Taliesin and Evertel, there's a perfectly good sofa there, right behind you.
There it is.
The sofa that, you know, you
Covered
worked
in junk.
quite hard to get out of their old place and get into this place and brought up the stairs. We didn't bring up the stairs, we paid some lovely men to do it for us instead.
Yeah, we did.
But I was very like, no, over there please, over there. But why aren't we sitting on the sofa? Is because we spent the last couple of weeks really working hard to get the weekly reset set done and that space. So, I mean, it's looking back at the footage that we just recorded, it's not perfect. We still got some alterations to make with lights and things like that. Yeah. But generally, I think it turned out okay. What do you think?
Pretty cool.
Yeah, you
I
like
felt
it?
very profesh.
Really?
And also, I really prefer like using a desk and talking on a desk.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I think
so
that's
much
really
better.
cool.
Because like normally, if the camera was like here and we recorded before, and I'd be like, blah, 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 like it just
Yeah, totally. Desks are cool. And usually we would be sitting on the sofa to do this bit as well, like, as usual. But we just haven't finished this office space. We haven't set it up properly yet.
No,
but we
we'll
will.
Get there.
Exactly. Maybe not by next week, but we do have an extra special item to go on the back wall there. For a start, okay, now those of you who watch the stream will know this, but we got a problem with the back wall straight away. In that, I think this used to be like a nursery or something.
This is clearly a child's bedroom.
So, we've got all these elephants on the wall. And
Why?
So we're going to have to like, find out what very expensive paint this is, and then scrape the elephant. They're actually like stickers, and we're going to have to scrape the elephants off the wall, and then paint over it, and then we can start putting our pictures and things up, like we did before. Plus, of course, the new pictures from the winners from our last art competition.
Of course.
And an extra special item that's going to go on this
Very
wall as well,
special.
which we are having made specially and it'll be good.
You'll find out about it.
People may have noticed, Evertel, on the desk, or on your desk, which is also my desk. No,
Our desk.
should we pretend we've got two separate desks?
No,
On
we
different sides of the building?
No.
This, that got sent to us by our friend Eugene.
Yes, his Twitter handle is EGClicks. So if you want to check him out, check out his work.
Awesome! And this is like a sculpted Swolkin. It's like
incredible.
literally the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It's so beautiful.
It's so great, and thank you so much. And we decided to place it on the desk. I think we might even keep it a permanent feature, and that would be very fitting, Evertel. And why would it be so fitting?
Purely because of the tiny bum. Just because I want to... It's really cute.
It's so nice.
So cute.
It's so cool.
I
It's
just
cute
love it.
and yet like sexually imposing,
I mean, I wouldn't...
which is how I
describe
think
it-
of you,
Thank you.
and that's why I like it.
Pretty sure I'm going with Kyrian.
Now, is that because everyone agrees that the Night Fae Hunter ability is a bit trash right now, or is there more to it?
What it really comes down to, in the end, is they have a really nice male set, the Kyrian. It's really, really nice.
I'm going to admit, it's an answer that surprised me.
It's really
It's
nice.
an answer that maybe we shouldn't let our raid leader hear.
No. Well, the ability is really... Okay, so the ability is really good. And I specifically want one tint of the male armor set.
Which one?
It's like the dark corrupted one.
Is there one?
Yeah.
Is there a dark one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to admit, the male armor for Kyrian is really, really
It's
good.
the bomb. And especially after watching the animation with Uther and stuff.
It's also very possible that I'm going to end up in Bastion as well on my priests. So I guess I'll see you there.
There.
Covenant
Now,
buddies.
bro.
All
Yeah.
right. Guys, thank you for joining us so much for the new weekly reset. I hope it wasn't too
Hey.
rough around the edges. It will get tighter and it will get easier and it will get earlier in the weekend as well. Hey, look, it was first ever time filming it. It's got a lot of stuff you got to sort out and stuff and a lot of editing and a lot of change equalization. Hey, it was tricky, all right, but we got there, which means it's
there.
all, I mean, downhill from now on, as in like going downhill's easier, right?
As in, yeah.
Yeah, like you can freewheel. Like going uphill's hard, but so
Yeah.
downhill, but also makes it sound like it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
never really understood it as a
It's
phrase.
going downhill
Yeah.
in terms of ease. It's going uphill in terms of quality
Boom.
and entertainment value.
Evertel knows. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this episode, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give us their actual real life money to make all of our videos happen and also, you know, made everything in that new space happen and is making everything
my
in this
God,
new
yeah.
space happen. Basically, without them, there would be no Taliesin and Evertel. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I quite like there being a Taliesin and Evertel.
Same.
So thank you, patrons.
We've kind of committed now, so...
If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Eugene. No, my name is Taliesin.
You can't say that.
I did say
You
it.
did.
Deal with it.
Oh.
Eat it. From me, Taliesin.
And me, Evertel.
Until next time, cheery